Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the science class. Today we'll read chapter 10, that is motion and measurement of distance. This time is basically a difficult time, and during summer vacations, you were sitting at home because there was a lockdown and you could not go out. So, you must be thinking about the quality time you had spent in your last summer vacation. You must have gone out on a vacation, or you may have gone to your relative's place, and the mode of transport was used must have been train, bus, maybe aeroplane if the distances are long, or maybe you have gone on a holiday and you must have used a ship, or you've gone for boating using a boat. So these are the mode of transport of traveling, and maybe you must be thinking what would have been the old in the ancient time people must be using for traveling. So let's start with the story of transport. Long ago, people did not have any means of transport. They used to move only on foot and carry goods either on their back or using animal. For transport along with route, boats were used for ancient time. To begin with, boat was very simple log of wood in which a hollow cavity could be made. Later people learned to put together different pieces of wood and give shape to the boat. These shape limited the space of imitated the space of the animals like in living in water. If we see, we had studied in a previous chapter what kind of a shape does a animal in a water have. It has a streamlined shape like fish, you know. You can see in the pictures like early man used to walk on his legs, and then he started using animals to move around as a transport or maybe to carry goods, and then they started using boats for water transport. They started using boats. Then there was a major invention, that was the invention of the wheel, and which changed the whole mankind. The invention of wheel was made a great change in the modes of transport. The design of the wheel was improved over thousands of years. Animals were used to pull vehicles that moved on wheels. Can you name any vehicle that is used by animal? Yes, that is bullock cart, as you can see in the picture also. Then, until the beginning of the 19th century, people still depended on animal power to transport them from place to place. The invention of steam engine introduced a new source of power. Railroads were made for steam engines driven carriages and wagons. Means there was a change. Now we did not needed animal to pull the things. Now the engines were there to pull the things. Then came another invention, was automobiles. Motorized boats and ships were used as means of transport on water. The early years of 1900 saw the development of aeroplane. These aeroplanes later improved to carry passengers and goods. Now you have seen electric trains are there, monorails are there, you have seen supersonic airplanes are there, aircrafts are there, spacecrafts are there. This is a major contribution of the 20th century, as you can see it in the picture also. Now there is another thing, how far have you traveled and how wide is the desk? How did people know how far they have to travel? How will you know whether you can walk down to your school or whether you will need a bus or a rickshaw to reach a school? When you need to purchase something, is it possible for you to walk down to the market, or you need a car or a bicycle or something else to travel? It is often important to know how far a place is. Depending on the how far the place is, we get an idea how to reach to that place. We can walk, we can take a bus, or if it is very far off from one city to another, we can use train, or maybe when you have to travel and there is a ocean in between, you use a ship, or the distances very far off distances means you are if you have to go abroad, you cannot go by bus or train, you need an aeroplane. And spacecraft, if you have to go from the earth to moon, the kind of vehicle is used is spacecraft. Sometimes these are objects whose length and width we need to know. There are some objects which we need to know the length and the width. Like when you are sitting in a class and you two people are students are sharing a desk. So you keep on fighting for that the other person is using the bigger part of the desk and you are using a smaller part. Now, to solve the problem, what a teacher suggests is that you measure the length of the disc and mark exactly in center and draw a line to separate it into two equal halves. Now, what can be the method used to separate the table into two equal halves? We can, what we can do is, like if you have a gilli or a danda, you can use it. Like if you try to measure, maybe the desk is 2 dandas and 2 gillis. So you what you do is you make a straight line in between, and now you are happy that yes, your desk has been divided into two equal halves and you are enjoying it. What happens after some days? The line gets erased. Again the same problem and confusion is there. Now the measurement of that, we had measured it with a gilli or a danda, is lost, and now you have another pair of gilli and danda. But when you start measuring it, what happens is, like uh, when you are measuring it, what happens is it is 2 gillis, 2 dandas, 1 gilli, and small portion is left. So how will you now divide it into the two halves? Again the problem is there. Okay, maybe you will take you can take a cricket bat, or maybe you can take a wicket of a wicket also to measure. What happens again if there is not equally divided, there is not possible to divide equally, a similar problem is there. So what we can do is, there is another way of doing it. We can have a string means a rassi, and mark 2 points on it. This will be a string length. They can measure the width of the desk in string length. How can they use the string to measure the distance less than the length of the string if the string is longer? How can we do it? We can fold it into half, then fold it again, it becomes 1/4, and if we fold it again, it becomes 1/8 string length. Now perhaps you can measure the exact length of the desk using the string. You should say that they should use the scale in their geometry box also to solve the problem. Yes, of course we can use the scale in the geometry box to measure the length, and it is a standard basically, and it can be measured easily, and this is a very important. There are different methods also of measuring distance, or measuring other things. Different methods are used to measure different things. There are so many occasions when you come across a need to measure the length and distance. The tailor needs to measure the length of the cloth to know if the length is enough to stitch a kurta. A carpenter needs to measure the length of the and width of the cupboard to know how much wood he would need to make its door. The farmer needs to know the length and the breadth of the area of his land to know how much seed he has to sow and how much water he will need to grow the crops. Suppose you are asked how tall you are. You want to tell the length of the straight line from top of your head to the heel or to your feet. Maybe if we ask you how long is your room, how wide is your desk, how far is it from Delhi to Lucknow, how far away is moon from the earth, we are talking about this. All these questions have one thing in common. They are all concerned distance between the two places. Maybe these distances are not that near to each other, they are far away, as the distances you could see measuring the desk. But you cannot measure a distance from Kota to Delhi with a string. You need another ways of measuring the length. So we will talk about it in our next class. This is all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.